I want to bring in now Dennis Prager, nationally syndicated talk show host and CNN political commentator Bob Beckel to discuss Unleash, can we say talking heads? I don't know. I guess I can. Good evening to both of you. Dennis, this is what the State Department Inspector General report said today about Secretary Clinton's use of a private email. It says, at a minimum, Secretary Clinton should have surrendered all emails dealing with department business before leaving government service, and because she did not do so, she did not comply with the department's policies that were implemented in accordance with the Federal Records Act. So right now, this rule breaking, it's not criminal behavior, but do you expect to see this go further?
In terms of an indictment, only God knows, and perhaps the head of the FBI or the Department of Justice specifically. But in terms of politically, it has to go on. It's unfortunately, look, if I may take the big picture for one moment here, sure. We don't have two wonderful candidates. I say this with terrible sadness as an American who loves his country. The characters of both are very flawed. The one great difference is that she truly has put her own fortunes above that of her country. Mm-hmm. You can't say that about Trump. He has just put his fortunes as primary in his life. But she, as Secretary of State, and before and after, has put the country second to her fortunes. And that, if that is not a political issue, then I don't know what is.
Bob, what do you think?
Well, I don't agree with my friend Dennis on that. I don't think she put her country second at anything. But here's the problem. The big issue for her will be what the FBI decides, obviously. And we don't know that yet. But the Inspector General's report, the problem is, as your reporter said, the trust factor for Hillary Clinton has been looming over her from the very beginning. It's one of the reasons that her unfavorables are as high as they are. And that is because of a collection of issues that happened in the 90s and in the 2000s that have, over the course of time, stuck. I mean, I don't think people care about an email server. I don't think they're going to vote because of an email server. It's a cumulative part of this. So right now, she needs to get this behind her. As soon as she sits down with the FBI, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And as for Donald Trump's got plenty of things he's got to answer for that haven't been put before him yet. And when they are, then we'll see whether he answers.
Let's talk to the issue of trust that Dennis is talking about. So the issue of trust and transparency, right? I think they go hand in hand. Because, Bob, according to the report, Clinton and several of her staff members declined to be interviewed. Why would she decline? Is that to limit liability and just talk to the FBI because she would have to talk to them? She doesn't have to talk to the IG?
I can't answer that for you. I would assume that there were two parallel investigations going on, and she didn't want to say one thing in one and at least on the edge of another. I think she wanted to let the FBI go forward. She's talked to the Inspector General's office and filed answered a series of questions in writing. But look, it is still not an issue that's going to knock her out of this race unless she gets indicted. Yeah. As I've said before, even if she is indicted, she could beat Donald Trump. Trump is at the best of times right now. The only good time he'll have after this, as good as this, is when he accepts his party's nomination, because he has not been hit hard. Look what happened with Elizabeth Warren goes after her. The guy can't stand it. He's got such a thin skin, which is amazing to me, that he blew up the way he did, and he can't seem to control that. Well, people say, well, look, he got beat up by all those people on the Republican stage in debates. That's wrong. They all sort of agreed on where they were in the issue, so it was a personality question.
You shouldn't be surprised.
Trump's case is a substance issue.
Do you think Donald Trump's a bully, Bob?
Do I think he's absolutely
well,
one of the worst I've ever seen?
Listen, I'm not saying that he is or isn't, but anyone, if you believe he's a bully, bullies are typically thin-skinned. That's why they're usually
that's
bullies.
Correct.
All right. So Dennis, the $2
John,
billion.
if I may,
yeah, go ahead.
May I ask Bob a question? I don't know if this is allowed.
It's allowed, but you only have about 20 seconds
Bob.
to do it and answer it.
All right. All right. Maybe he'll answer afterwards then. Does Bob, whom I really do like, and I want him on my show for his fine autobiography, by the way. I'm just letting him know that and letting the listeners know a free plug for his book.
Go ahead.
But Bob, I want to know, do you really believe she did not put herself above her country with her own server while she was Secretary of State?
Okay, Bob,
you
don't answer that.
She did that for nefarious reasons?
Thank you, Dennis. Don't answer. We'll answer that after the break. Don't go anywhere.
I'll have to wait.
Back with me now, Dennis Prager and Bob Beckel. Dennis was asking Bob before the break, did he really believe that Senator or Secretary Clinton didn't put herself before her country? Go ahead, Bob.
Well, the answer to that is no, unless somebody can show me a specific leak of an email or a specific email that caused national security damage to the United States. I don't think that you could say that she put her because she put this in her house. I mean, was it a smart move? No. Has it come back to haunt her? Yes.
Why did she do it, Bob? Bob, why did she do it?
I have assumed, but I take her at her word. It was easier for her to deal with the one place than to deal with scattered places. I don't know.
There was a note in the Inspector General's report. There is a message saying that when the server went down, that she didn't want to send emails because she didn't want the personal emails getting out. So that has nothing to do with it being simpler, Bob.
No, but I wonder what the personal emails has to do with anything anyway.
Bob, I'm disappointed in you. I love you, as you know. I admit the character flaws of my candidate, all right? I'm stuck with him. Why don't you admit she's awful? She has put her country second to her own ambitions. She earned $21 million in speeches. Why? Because she's a great speaker? She's one of the most boring speakers in American history. She got $21 million in speeches because she's corrupt.
She is one of the most experienced politicians out there, though, being the First Lady, a senator, also the Secretary of State. But go on, Bob.
But, you know, I don't think it's unusual for people to get those kind of speaking fees. If I remember, Ronald Reagan got $2 million to speak to the Japanese. But the point here is, do I think that she's the ideal candidate? No. Do I think in this climate she is? No. Because there is
You think she's honest?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I do think she's honest. I think that she's been beat up so much over so many years, she comes across as defensive. And yet all the things she's been through, whether it's been in Benghazi or Whitewater, nobody has ever been able to lay a finger on her of something that was illegal.
We're going to discuss this more throughout the show. Hang on.
We'll do it another time.
Dennis, thank you. You know,
what she said to the parents of the
we have more
people.
than 5 months to deal with this. But I want to talk. Let's go on. I want to talk more about the campaign. I want to talk about Donald Trump as well, because sources are telling CNN that Trump and Paul Ryan are going to speak on the phone tonight. How do you think that's going to go, Dennis?
It's hard for me to imagine that over the course of time that Paul Ryan will not ultimately endorse him, because he is facing the exact same issue as I am as a conservative Republican, which I proudly announce myself to be, and that is that the only alternative to Donald Trump is 4 more years of the left running the country. And that is such a nightmare to those of us who believe the left have ruined our universities, ruined our economy,
why hasn't
ruined
he done it
our
already?
Military. Why hasn't he done it already?
Yeah.
Because he would like, it seems to me, that he would like Trump to move in his direction. And I think it is an honorable thing for him to take his time, not immediately jump on the bandwagon. I think Ryan has comported himself with great dignity.
Why do you think he hasn't endorsed him already, Bob Beckel?
Well, I think I'm going to take him pretty much at his word. I know the guy very well, and he's a very straight shooter, and he believes in the conservative agenda, and many of the things, not just a few, but many of the things Trump has said run counter to what Paul Ryan believes. In the end, will Paul Ryan endorse him? Yes. Will it matter all that much? I don't think so. What Paul Ryan's got to do is protect his majority in the House, which is he's worried about, as they are in the Senate. You know, one of the things that's beginning to percolate up here is, why has not Donald Trump released his income taxes? Every presidential candidate in the history of our country since we had an income tax has done that. And for some reason, Donald Trump refuses to do it. Now, that's the kind of thing, he doesn't get that attack every day. But Elizabeth Warren, when the team hits the field, and I mean there's going to be some formidable people on it, including Barack Obama, Elizabeth Warren, to take on Donald Trump, he's going to have to start answering some of these questions. He's not going to get away with calling somebody lazy or no energy and move on.
Actually, just a brief note, to the best of my knowledge, it's only been 30 years that candidates, not since the invention of the income tax. It's only been 30 years. And frankly, I don't believe that any presidential or any other candidate should have to release their income tax forms. It's none of my damn business as a citizen. I couldn't care less what they earn, how much charity they give. It would be a nice thing to know, but it is not my business. There has to be some realm of privacy.
What if they
still
didn't pay?
for
What if you
both
found out that
Democrats
they
and
weren't paying
Republicans.
taxes, Dennis? Don't you think the American people?
If they weren't paying taxes, that the IRS should indict them if they have been illegal. If they have legally not paid taxes, I would like to know what one American who pays more than he has to.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you
I
do,
could
Dennis,
answer that,
but
I won't.
listen. You
Listen.
you learn a lot about it. Has he offshored money? That's legal, but has he done it? Has he hired people to come in from overseas to build his buildings? Yes, he's done that. Is it illegal? No. But it runs right in the face of the things he said. That's the problem.
Dennis, before I let you go, I want to ask you about this, about Donald Trump attacking a New Mexico governor, Susana Martinez, last night. Was that a smart move on his part? Why would he do that?
Because the filter between Donald Trump's mind and his mouth is not effective. That's why. I have no excuse to make. I think it was extremely stupid.
Bob Beckel?
I would add to that stupid, but you're right. I mean, why does he do that? This is a woman that was on the short list of people being considered for vice president early on in the process, and he has in one day has made that state more of a blue state than it should be. Yeah. And that's the real question here. He's got to start looking at delegate counts. I mean, the Electoral College. New Mexico we've won it before, but not often. You take your hand on and start slap around a popular Republican governor, and you're not helping yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. It's always interesting when you guys are on, especially together.
Thank you.